Live from VentureX Studios, it's JP, Kathy, and the crew.
Well, good morning and happy Monday to you. Do I sound echoey? I don't know. I sound like I'm echoing in my head. Or is that just me because it's a Monday? Maybe that's better? I don't know. I know I sound very trebly. I don't know. Message to the crew. Let us know if I sound funny today. I might sound really funny because I forgot my glasses at home. So it's just been, and let me know when Dr. Clothier comes on. Okay, as soon as he comes on, I can stop chit-chatting away. So our heater goes out this weekend. And normally, I'm a hot-natured kind of person. I like it cold in my house anyway. So I'm like, it won't be that bad. So, and I thought, okay, at one point it was like 63 yesterday, and then it slowly was climbing down. It was in the 50s when we woke up this morning in the house because our HAVC guy can't come out until this morning. He was out of town, so he'll be out there first thing this morning. So, I was thinking, oh, not that big of a deal. Keep some sweatpants on, keep a jacket on, keep my robe on. It's all good. Because I do like it. I thought, when it's 60 degrees outside or, in the 50s, I love it outside. So there is a difference between outside 50 and 60 degrees and inside your house 50 and 60 degrees. Has anybody ever experienced that? I will let the record show, and I did say this as we were trying to fall asleep last night, and thank you to my son for rescuing us and letting us use, because our house is the hottest in the summer and the coldest in the winter. So he had a space heater in his room all day because he's more cold-natured, and he went ahead and let us, he's like, do y'all want to use this in your bedroom? And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. So Siege, thank you so much. As my head was hitting the pillow, I did say I do prefer the heater to be out than the air conditioner to be out. So just let the record show. Oh, and Dr. Clothier, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing well. I think it's nice your son saved your life.
Yes, he did. With that space heater, he sure did. I know that's a little extreme. Didn't save my life, but sure helped the comfort level in our room last night. Well, welcome to JP, Kathy, and the crew, Dr. Clothier. We're always happy to have you on and start our Monday off with you because we know you're going to provide us with a wealth of knowledge. And my goodness, for how many months now you've been providing us with good updates and ever-changing updates on the coronavirus.
It's been about 9 or 10 months. Probably one bad update, but mostly good ones, I think. So
they've
I hope.
Good.
Well, you
good.
You got to be careful how you qualify that, But yeah, we try to spread the right information. I think that's. I hope to be the voice of reason in medicine, honestly, because I think there's a lot of outrageous thought out there and outrageous comments, and we just have to be careful to stay grounded with some degree of actual information, I think.
Yes.
And I think that's where we are with the vaccine.
Yes.
Talking about the COVID-19 vaccine. One has been approved. We already had a call from a patient Friday afternoon when they heard they'd be approved. And they said, well, they'd be here Saturday morning to get it. And
wow.
And I've already had people ask me, too, if they could go ahead, even though it wasn't approved yet, if they could go ahead and get it. And
really?
So, here's the challenge there is that it's approved, but it's not distributed yet. And, of course, we've now all seen the video of truckloads of it going around here and there. And it just takes time, logistically speaking.
And let's talk about that. It's approved. The difference between that and being distributed, and I'm sure most people understand. But you're right. We've had friends talk about it, and if it's on social media, it must be the truth. And people on social media who are like, "Oh, I'll be the first one in line this weekend," and I'm like, "Don't they live in the Dallas area? So where are they going for it? Because to my knowledge, nobody's distributing it yet, or nobody's giving the shot yet because it hasn't been distributed."
Yeah, it is in the midst of being spread around. I tell you, it's extremely fast. I mean, this is one of those deals where I think we'll look back and see how America mobilized very quickly. And part of that, President Trump had companies ramp up their syringe production, needle production, because all those pieces have to go together. Just because you have an immunization doesn't mean it can get into an arm.
Right.
And I think it's, it's got to get to the the point of having, a syringe, a needle, a person to give it, a facility to give it in, and then the right person to receive it. So I just wanted to kind of go through some of that logistical side, and I'm no logistical wizard, I mean, it just is.
Well, but more than we do. That's why we have you on the show.
Oh, that's very kind. But the issue is, we have 330 million Americans. Let's say only 200 million of our 330 million want the vaccine because the other ones, their neighbors told them it's not a good idea or whatever. And I think, the immunization is really based in science. It is something that's been worked on for a long time. We touched on this last week that medical scientists have no desire whatsoever to come up with a product that's known to be a bad product over time.
Right.
That is just not the motivation. And this is also something there have been virologists who've been working on antiviral vaccines for years and years and years. This just happens to be the most recent manifestation of a bad virus that they are working on. So it's not like they came up with the thought 6 weeks ago and said, oh, we better rush something out there. And by the way, let's put a microchip in it so the government can track you, and let's make sure it hurts people in a bad way.
That's another thing we wanted to ask you about. We were going to wait until after the first of the year, but is there a microchip in this vaccine that these people are going to be taking?
Yeah, of course not. Microchips take a long time to manufacture properly too. So, the biggest risk, honestly, that I tell people, because I get that question 10 times a day probably, is, what about the microchip in the vaccine?
Yep.
Well, first, the vaccine hasn't been out, so I suppose nobody knows. But I believe that the government has no desire to put a microchip in every person because I think it's hard to do. I think, that'd be the weird, nanotechnology, all that. We're really just not reasonably there. Plus, everybody already has a microchip with them all the time. That is their phone.
Hello.
And why try to outperform everyone already revealing their location at all times?
You do. And it's funny, Dr. Clothier, I don't know if you have one of those Alexa devices at home. I don't. Now, I do have a Bluetooth speaker, but it's not interactive. Literally they're watching you. If you've got what is it, Google Manager, or there's some Google product that if you have that, it's recording everything you do at work while you're sitting at your computer. If you're talking loudly enough from another room, it can hear you. So I think everybody worrying so much about the vaccine having a microchip in it. I'm like,
it's funny.
Okay.
I can tell you, if you bought a car in the last several years, the car knows, can tell everybody where you've been, what speed you're going, etc. That the idea of privacy is gone. I mean, let's just be honest about it. Now, the next step is just, why would the government care? Frankly, if somebody came in, got shot, and they want to start tracking them, they don't care where I am. Honestly, I think they're a bigger fish to fry.
But they tell me on social media, Dr. Clothier. Again, it must be true.
Yeah. But it's just fascinating how we've already yielded all that freedom, and now there's this fear that will come about through a medical means, and I just don't see that happening. I mean, I think it's kind of crazy. I actually, as a side thought, I leave my phone in my office during the day when I see patients because I don't want it identifying what I'm talking about, what products, what disease conditions, whatever, because it'll pick up on that. And I just figure it's better for privacy, for confidentiality, to not reveal to my phone and to, whatever company and provider what all is going on. And they want marketing information, believe me, but I just don't do that. So just be careful of the rumors and go with the realities, which is the virus now has killed about 300,000 people in America. Those are, a lot of people try and make the argument, well, wouldn't those people be dead anyway? I think that's a really ugly argument to try and make, honestly. And that'd be almost like, if you had a neighbor killed in a car wreck, say, weren't they going to die this year probably anyway somehow? And that is unsatisfactory, unethical, and improper. And I think what we have to realize is the virus is harming people, and
Right.
deaths, but there also are long-term conditions that we have yet to really figure out.
And that's to
You
me,
know,
not
there,
not that the deaths obviously are horrible, and we just Charlie Pride,
Mhm.
a local musician, well, a famous musician who we're going to be paying tribute to a little bit later today, passed away of the coronavirus. So it's any death is awful. I'm really
Sure.
fearful, especially for the younger kids. I'm not as concerned about somebody like me in my 50s and older, but some of those younger kids, are there going to be any side effects when they go to have kids, when they get into their 30s, when they start to develop high blood pressure and some of the things, unfortunately, you
Sure.
naturally develop as you get older? That's really where I'm very, very concerned about the younger folks coming up that we need healthy for a long time.
Yes, you and everyone in medicine is concerned
Yeah,
about that. And I'll tell
yeah,
you, it's probably purely anecdotal and no evidence of anything being related to the virus. But it strikes me when I watched like the NFL yesterday, I was watching a couple of games off and on, and the players, and two in particular, Zeke and then Cam Newton, they had COVID. And when you watch them play, they don't seem to be the same player they were. And
right.
I can't take out of the equation. Of course, they're a year older than they were about a year ago, but it just seems like they've fallen off the cliff more. And I just do wonder if there's some effect of the virus on, respiratory status, muscle twitch
Right.
effect, strength,
Yes.
endurance, whatever it is. So I think we've got a lot to learn there. So I believe that a big breakthrough here is in the vaccine, and if we can begin um, some momentum toward improving things with the virus rather than only sliding downhill,
Right.
I just think that would be a tremendously beneficial factor. So
Agree.
the logistical thoughts there, again, we're saying if only 200 million Americans want the virus, that's still 200 million vaccines to give. And that just doesn't happen fast. For one thing, that many are not in existence at the moment.
Right.
The second thing is, of course, people are spread all over a relatively large country, as we know. And, it just takes a long time to get there. I've already, as I mentioned, I've had patients ask for the virus. I've had them tell me they're coming in for it. I've had some say, well, I'm trusting you to put me up high on the list to get the vaccine.
Because
Well,
because you've
you
got that
know,
influence.
you
I'll tell the
can't. I mean,
president.
yeah, and I will publicly say I don't take bribes. I have joked about that before, but I don't. And it's also one of those things. Nobody is coming to me to ask me, "Oh, would you give us a list of your patients in order of importance to you for them to get the vaccine?"
Right.
This is going to be something that
No.
must, by its nature, be determined by a larger group that has no personal knowledge of the person. Because
Right.
if you start trying to pick and choose who you think should live, then we're really living like it's a movie or a novel or some sort of
Exactly.
crazy,
Exactly.
postmodern era that we don't want to be in. Frankly,
Right.
I don't want to be put on a list of doctors who maybe are important or maybe not. I don't want to know where somebody else thinks I fall in that. I want to go with a relatively blinded system of saying, okay,
Right.
we have tier one who are, you know,
Healthcare workers or
ICU
frontline
workers.
workers. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I
right.
do
And
think those
I can't
folks should get
decide
that
because
first.
somebody,
Right.
yeah, I can't decide because somebody wants to work on a novel in the future that they need the vaccine over someone who doesn't, for instance,
Exactly.
just as a vocational thing or, and it's interesting that I'm getting asked that because I know why is because people don't want to get the virus. And there's this gradual realization that COVID-19 really is as bad as everybody has been saying. And
Right.
I think even among the deniers that it was going to go away after the election or it's only in America and the other stories are made up around the world. There's some wild conspiratorial theories
Yes,
that
there are.
don't hold water at
Right.
all. I mean, I'd love to come up with some of those theories. I think they're fascinating. I think they'd make for a good book or story or whatever, but they're not real.
Right.
And the reality is it's a harsh virus that's very contagious. So we need to talk a bit about going into the holidays because I'm concerned because, everybody's yearning to get together for Christmas, of course. naturally so. In fact, I'd be worried if people said, well, I don't really want to get together at Christmas for any reason, virus or not. That'd be a sign of bad relations and bad mental health. So we all want to get together, but you must, at Christmas is in less than 2 weeks. By my calculation, it's which is behind 11 days away.
There you go. It's right around the corner.
Yeah, I had to kind of look at the date there because the crazy thing is in COVID, even though I'm working every day, I can't keep track of the days for some reason. But anyway, it's 11 days away. If you've not already started to self-quarantine, you need to start today. You need to not go anywhere in public where you're going to potentially pick up the virus. You need not be around somebody sick. Right. And then if you feel healthy enough, and preferably if you can get a test done, you could visit your family with the knowledge that you have a negative test and no new exposure that's going to reveal itself when you get around, especially elderly or otherwise at risk relatives.
Right.
And, of course we all want to get together, but you don't want to get together at Christmas and give your, extended family a deadly virus. That's just a problem.
Well,
that we have to find a way to deal with.
You and I have talked about this. I've got a large family. We did like y'all did. We got together and we ate outside. It was beautiful Thanksgiving. Now Christmas probably won't be the same thing, but we do have now. My stepsister and her husband, who are fun as all get out. Anyways, they're making it fun. They're doing a big reveal on the location for Christmas Eve for our big family party. So I have a feeling it's probably going to be in like a warehouse type style situation. They've got access because they do bikes and a donation center. So probably something like that. And then they've got, then we're only doing one gift exchange. So it's not going to be the big fight free for all like we normally have. So food's going to be catered. There are accommodations being made, but so we can still get together and enjoy ourselves. Let me ask you a couple of questions. I've got some members of the crew. We've got a 53-year-old, very healthy, no underlying conditions individual. She is asking, she said, I don't want to get a vaccine that has a 95% effectiveness for a virus that with a 99.7% recovery rate. Thoughts on that?
I would suggest that the first thing is we don't really know the recovery because, as we were talking about earlier, we don't know the long-term outcome of the virus yet. Just to make another comparison to the polio virus. When polio first hit in organized society and people knew that there was a virus that was hitting people in bad ways, there was a 25% fatality rate. So you could say there was a 75% recovery rate.
Right.
However, within weeks to months, it was it became apparent as people had shrinkage of a leg or onset paralysis that there was a long-term effect that had not been seen initially because, frankly, people were so shocked and overwhelmed at the death rate that it took a while to see all the neurologic effects.
Okay.
We now have a vaccine that has mostly eliminated polio until there are outbreaks where people don't get vaccines. But no vaccine is 100%.
Right.
And you just don't know when you're going to be the one with the bad outcome.
Right. And then we have another question from another member of the crew, and I think we've asked you this before, but we're going to keep asking it until you have an answer.
The answer you want?
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes.
Just an actual answer. Is the COVID vaccination going to be like the flu shot? Will you need to get this every year?
I honestly think we won't know for about a year because we'll have to see how the persistence of the immunity is.
Gotcha.
And, keep in mind, too, that it is nearly impossible. In fact, I would dare say impossible to achieve 100% immunity to anything. The reason that smallpox is eradicated was the vaccine, but also because the people with it were isolated and died.
Right.
I don't mean to sound too harsh, but that's just the way it was. And so there quit being the virus in society was the only way to overcome that. It wasn't truly an immune response. It was that the virus was gone.
Okay.
And even today, we immunize against, famously the flu, of course, and there are flu cases. The people who get the shot nearly always have a much reduced intensity of the virus and generally don't die from it, for instance.
Right.
But it's not 100%. It's a better immune response. It's kind of like the analogy I keep using about a car. If you're in a wreck and you have airbags and seatbelts, and you mostly stay in your lane, and you're not going to be out there getting wrecks all the time, into wrecks all the time.
Right.
You have better odds of surviving that, of getting through that well, if you have protective gear. And this is like protective gear. So what we don't know, I mean, I would dare say, I don't think we're going to reach the point driving where we say, oh, everybody has become such a good driver now that we don't need seatbelts and we don't need airbags and we don't need, lanes.
Yeah.
We just can see people doing well. So we don't know yet because the virus is new. It's only been known in its genotype for 54 weeks now. And we've got to see what the immune response is over time. So I believe we won't know the future booster for a while. And to put that in perspective, for instance, when tetanus shot, which tetanus is relentlessly fatal.
Right.
When the tetanus shot came out, and the reason nobody who's died of tetanus is we have a tetanus shot. And you don't know if you're going to go step on the rusty nail or not. But if you get a tetanus shot, you don't have to worry about dying because of that.
Right.
Well, when it first came out, it was thought to be a one-time only shot. Now it's a booster really every 5 to 10 years, depending on risk. Yeah, 7 years is pretty average, and 5 years if you're at high risk by metal injury, and 10 years if you're routine. Right. And, it's not odd to have a booster, and it may be annual, and it still won't have microchips in it, I believe. And I don't think it'll be more risky to get a second one or a third one or a fourth one, because you're still talking about immune response to a purified protein, not the live virus.
Right.
And, and I think people are funny about thinking about immunizations and thinking it's this huge plot against them. I think the one reason we have exceptional health in the United States and other countries that are of similar, medical knowledge, the reason is we have access to vaccines, and that's actually a great benefit. And I think there are many areas of the world that would wonderfully benefit from the opportunity to prevent disease rather than to be destroyed by disease or
I think you maybe froze just a little bit.
Scientists and the governmental agencies and such.
Well, and you froze just a baby bit there at the end, but I believe we understood what your gist was.
Well, that was the answer, by the way. I gave it, but I can't give it again.
Yeah, so that was it. Do you need a booster or not? So tune in 2022. Okay, so this is, and I think this is interesting. I think it kind of depends on the your age and what you lived through. One of our members of the crew said his oldest sister got polio in 1953 and died due to complications. She was 3 years old.
Sure.
So yeah. I think a lot. I think like for my kids, the thought of, now I'm not rushing out to get them a vaccine right away. I don't want them to be in that first group, but eventually they would be of the age, like I talked about, that age you want to protect because they're young and we want them to stay young and healthy for a long time. They're used to, every year without fail, mom drags them up to Walgreens or CVS and we get a flu shot. So they've grown up where the vaccine like that is a normal part of life. I think for somebody who lived through polio, I just think you've got a different perspective depending on your age.
Right. And that's absolutely, if you think back to the diseases that many of us did have as children, or at least knew people who had, there is a lost perspective about those diseases because we've been able to immunize and largely, if not eliminate, then at least greatly reduce the outcome, the bad outcomes, and improve good outcomes.
Right.
And it's a loss of perspective, I think, on that. For that sad situation of the 3-year-old dying of polio, the sibling, I think, they would absolutely go back in time if they could and have a vaccine and prevent that death.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And see what that life became.
Right.
Because that life would surely have been a blessing. And,
yes.
and I think we lose perspective that people used to die in America from tetanus. And,
right.
Now there probably are like 3 case reports over the last 20 years of people who have had it and died because, we are able to immunize against it. Similarly, measles isn't causing brain damage and deafness, and
right.
mumps isn't causing infertility. And, just on and on, all these various diseases that our young people, frankly, don't even probably think are actual diseases. Right. Because we prevent them.
Well,
and I think
they're unheard of unless you've mentioned them to your child from, hey, back in the day, this hit our family, or back in the day, this. I certainly, I remember when my daughter stepped on a rusty nail, and she was right on the cusp of needing that booster shot or not. And we went ahead and we, erred on the side of caution and got her the booster shot while she was at the ER and all this kind of stuff. And I took advantage of that time and said, hey, this is why this is an important thing. Back in the day, something like this happened, it was a big tragedy. Nowadays, we're going to leave. You're going to be off your foot for a couple of days. You're going to get some ice cream and a new stuffed animal, and it's all good.
I think, and that's the right perspective to have. And, I, for instance, have had my appendix out. I could have, when it flared up, I guess I could have said, this crazy medical establishment says there's a surgery for that, wouldn't want to do it. And it's relentlessly fatal if you don't. And so, I could have presumably just sort of decided that was sort of a conspiracy, that there's, a surgical realm. And in fact, I got charged, I got charged by a surgeon, anesthesiologist, a hospital. I got charged for the OR time.
Yeah. Yep.
And I benefit from those because by all appearances, I'm still alive today.
I was going to say, you are alive, so it's good.
Yeah, I haven't actually checked my vitals today to be sure, but it's a weird, when you're in that situation, I think you realize things differently. It's kind of, not to beat the dead horse too much here, but I think when, for instance, I'll see a young couple with a young baby, and that sometimes they'll spontaneously bring up, I hear, some people go get tubes for their baby in their ears, and why in the world would anybody ever do that? And I think, well, you don't understand, because your child isn't the one with fever every night, screaming every night, and the bad infection.
Right.
And, when you're in the spot where you are affected directly, and I think more and more people are realizing they're being affected directly by COVID-19,
yes.
because we are having local, more famous deaths. We are having more family members. We're
right.
having, our neighbor's granddad dying from it. It's starting to hit home more because it's almost like it's closing in around us. And,
right.
And that's why we need to put a stop there, and realize too, for your prior commenter who is a very healthy 53, which I think is fantastic. Maybe she isn't the one who would benefit from the immunization, but maybe it's reducing her from being this asymptomatic carrier that takes it to, say, 10 other people, one of whom may die.
Okay.
And if you think of it as protecting others by achieving protection yourself, I think that helps with the perspective too.
Well, great information as always. And it's just, you always, I like the way you present the information to us. You don't do it in a political manner. You don't do it in an emotional manner. You do it in a, hey, these are kind of the facts. This is what you need. This is what you need to consider. And then guess what? You're an intelligent adult. Make the decision on your own. And I like the perspective. I'd rather talk with a medical health professional like you, and then decide personally about something, depending on, what kind of, if I work from home all the time and I barely even go out to the grocery store, or if I'm out and about all the time. I think those are things to consider. I'd rather that than the government tell me what to do.
Sure, absolutely. And that's why you want a relationship with your doctor.
Yes.
I think that's always a value. And I hope that each listener out
froze up just a bit.
It's, we always in medicine are talking about weighing the risk and benefit ratio. And you have to determine, what's riskier, what's more beneficial, what's right for that individual, and frankly, for that community. If somebody has a community of elderly, somewhat frail, or disease-stricken family members, they're going to feel differently about the whole situation than someone who,
right,
basically doesn't know any of those people. I mean, that's just the nature of it. So we just, a year ago, none of us saw me in any way whatsoever. And we've had to adapt a lot, and we've had to adapt in some painful and frustrating ways, but we also must adapt to the reality. And I think that's where we just need to be grounded in what is real, what's rumor, and, try to go with what's actually true.
Right. Yep. Well, thank you, Dr. Clothier. Have a blessed week. We appreciate you. And
Thank
then
you.
we'll see you after we're running your reruns the next 2 Mondays. So we will see you after the new year, and we look forward to, I guess, January 4th. Will that be right?
I believe it would be. That's right.
Well, you have a blessed Christmas holiday with your family.
Yeah, have a Merry Christmas too. And I think it's really important to realize our blessings this time of year, if no other.
Amen.
From Thanksgiving to Christmas, just realize what a blessed people we are, what a blessed society.
Yep.
Thank you much.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks, Dr. Clothier. Great information. Okay, JP, do we catch you with your hand in the cookie jar?
Oh, excuse me. Uh-oh.
Yeah, we caught you with your hand in the cookie jar. Do you have enough to share with the whole class?
Yes.
Okay, good. I thought I saw a box on the back table.
You did. I brought a whole box in this morning. Dr. Clothier.
Great information.
Hits it right on the head, though.
Yeah, he's not emotional about it. He's not angry about it. He's very matter of fact about it. Very fact based. And I think that's where everybody has to take that in. You and I have had this discussion about having the shot, not having the shot, having our family members get the shot, having them not get the shot. And it depends on which family member. And there are several factors that go into all of that. And you and I both know the same way on that. There's some people I'm like, yeah, they're going to get it like probably second batch or something. Some I'm like, oh, I would never have them get it, and then some of it is a wait and see thing.
Well, and I guess the big thing.
You just can't get emotional. And you can't judge anybody else for what they decide.
No. Well, and we're seeing a lot of that.
And
2020 could have been, the word, if I don't want it to be negative, could have been judgment. Because of all of the.
I didn't watch it. Was it just like shaming if you don't get
wear your mask and if you don't do that? Yeah, I mean it's the it goes in line with what's going on out there, right? Yeah. I'll tell you though, what really really is cool is that as we get ready to go into 2021, the vaccine did in fact get done like the president said it would. Whether you want to politicize it or not, the president did what he said he was going to do. And
just like he did with everything else. But
and
that's a
so,
story for another day.
Yeah, but I mean, and so here's the deal. Medical staff have to get it first, and that's who it's being held off to. You and I won't qualify for it until probably 2021 is what they're saying.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing. I don't, you know what? And again, just as an individual, can't you just look at things, decipher all the factors and then come to a logical conclusion? I don't think, I mean, I've got, friends and family who are in the healthcare industry. You know what? Doggone it. I think Dr. Clothier needs one before I need one.
Right. Well, and evidently they have partnered with, and I say they, but the government and Pfizer and Walmart and Walgreens. So your biggest producers will be Walmart and Walgreens.
Well, and boy, I noticed because Walgreens is my main pharmacy and my family's main pharmacy, and there are all kinds of advertisement. When I call in, there's a commercial that pops up on the phone system. They're advertising it like in emails I get and in texts that I get. So,
Walmart's clear. Walmart will not decide who gets it and who doesn't get it. That'll come from the states and from the doctors. Right. But they have partnered with tens of thousands of nursing homes. So nursing homes will get it first. Yep. Nursing home care workers will get it first. Medical staff and first responders will get it. And again, it won't be open to the regular public more than likely until mid-2021. So it's going to be interesting to see, now that the vaccine is out, how, Commandant Biden and his drill sergeant, Officer Schultz, how they handle the fact that the vaccine's out there now. Are we all going to stuff to do is 100-day mandated mask wearing? Are we going to all get a mark, like a red X or a red A on our on our shirts because we don't get the vaccine, so we now have a scarlet letter on us.
Well, and that's one of the things that somebody had mentioned. There was a social media thing that I would assume went viral. I saw it several times, and they were talking about that. Will you be marked in some? Will you be mandated? And I'm like, come on, we're America. I would hope not. Well, okay. Again, that's where we get into this shaming and. Gosh, at first when people were mandated to wear masks at stores and things like that, remember you had people who were getting in fights and people who would follow people around the store. And I'm like,
people attacking people.
You're chancing.
Put on your mask. Why are you wearing your mask?
And I'm like, you're yelling at this person and you're chancing spreading the disease more than the person who's just walking through the store real quick and grabbing a bottle of ketchup and hitting the road.
And most of it was in California where you're not supposed to sing, but you can yell. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, really.
That's a joke. So let's get off. Yeah, Let's get off onto some other topics that people have produced for us today. I'm going to kick over to Michael's production in a moment, but I wanted to start off with Coach Quigley. Coach produced Dick Van Dyke, turns 94 today.
Oh, is it today or yesterday?
Oh, yesterday. I'm sorry.
So happy birthday to Dick Van Dyke. Okay, favorite Dick Van Dyke character?
Oh my goodness, Fiddler on the Roof. I'm sorry. For me, it's the the movie and the Broadway play and
well, the Broadway play because he wasn't in the movie that they did.
Right.
But he's got so many great. First of all, the Dick Van Dyke Show, hilarious, just greatness. Yeah. Loved him in Mary Poppins. But
loved him in the last Mary Poppins even.
Yeah, because he did.
Did you see that 93-year-old jump up on that desk and do? I mean, he was hilarious.
He was what a great all-around entertainer.
Right.
Sing, dance, physical comedy, everything was just great. But I'm going to have to say my favorite Dick Van Dyke movie and one of my favorite all-time movies, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
That was fun. I enjoyed that.
Loved it.
But I'm telling you, I loved him in the Broadway play, Fiddler on the Roof, and
he's so talented.
I don't know, why did I think that Dick Van Dyke was in the movie? Are you sure he wasn't in the initial movie?
I've got the whole movie memorized.
I'm trying to remember. What movie was he dancing on the roof with a cartoon character?
Mary Poppins.
Okay, then it was Mary Poppins.
You're thinking Mary Poppins.
Movie Mary Poppins, play Fiddler on the Roof.
Okay. And I didn't even realize he had been in Fiddler on the Roof, the play.
I believe so.
Okay. I think you're probably thinking Mary Poppins with Julie Andrews.
Well, that one as well. But I'm thinking both.
Okay.
I love both.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is just, I can watch that movie. I still watch it quite often. Hushabye Mountain and Truly Scrumptious and the Old Bamboo, just his dancing, his acting,
and how
his
many of
singing
us loved
was
his
fantastic
brother?
in that.
Did you love his brother? I loved his brother in Coach. Coach was one of my favorite TV shows.
He was in Coach. He was also in that show, The Middle.
Yeah.
It was in a number of shows, and he was great as well. Just what a talented family. But, Dick Van Dyke, 24 years old. He still acts like it. 94 years old, so happy birthday to you, Dick Van Dyke.
And I think Coach Q said that his mother's birthday also.
Yeah.
Same day, right?
Yeah. Yep.
There you go.
He did.
And then
So
Michael's
thanks, Coach.
produced some stories for him, Michael Wiseman.
Yeah, and let's see what I can read and what I cannot read. So I'm pulling up links. Thank goodness my husband. I put my glasses in my other purse because
they weren't around the car, by the way.
Thank you, because I was in a freezing house. I was all discombobulated. It's a miracle I made it out the door today. So let me see if I can.
And that, by the way, that New York story was a big story. By the way,
it really is. So I'm gonna read this best I can right now, and then we can kick it around. But then I've got two interesting Santa stories as well. But New York PD shoot an armed suspect at the Cathedral Church of St. John the Divine, and most of you know St. John the Divine. This is a church that has been being built, if that's the correct grammar, for 100 years and is still not built. There will be a spire, a staircase that goes up to the top. When this church is completely finished, there will be you will be able to fit the Statue of Liberty in this church. So from what I understand, and since I can't, for some reason it's not letting me do that little thing where you do like this, JP, and you open it up and make the words bigger. So basically there was a concert outside of, a Christmas concert outside of the Cathedral Church of St. John the Divine in Harlem, and a shooter came and opened fire on the crowd. The shooter was was fatally shot. So thank goodness, because I know they've defunded and quite a bit of the New York police. So I'm glad that they were still able to come and
Defunding.
and save them. I don't know if anyone else. I don't think anyone was killed in the crowd. Praying that that's the truth. And again, I can't really having a hard time reading this one because it won't open up for me. But just heartbreaking. We haven't.
I sent you a link, Chambrielle. You want to put the cathedral up on the screen for me?
It's almost like because of COVID, you haven't had the big crowds lately. So it's interesting when my husband, he was like, hey, there was a shooting. And I was like, wait, what? It sounded odd because not that there aren't shootings. Let's talk Chicago on any given weekend. You've got, all kinds of crime, all kinds of people being shot and killed, murdered.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as like a gathered crowd, because there just aren't very many gathered crowds since last March.
Well, and also in New York,
Right?
it has become a free-for-all.
Yeah.
And people know that. So, I mean,
crime is
that's
up
the other side.
like
I mean,
nobody's business in New York. In New York, it's really sad that I think I mentioned my friend who's married to Paul Sorvino. She said she just doesn't even recognize the city. He's there filming a new TV show, and she said you don't even recognize this place.
Yeah.
It's really sad. I hear the same about Austin.
Well, yeah,
Sixth Street's
Austin's
all
way
boarded
bad. Well, now,
up.
here's what's interesting, though,
Just
right?
such a
So there's the
heartbreaking.
cathedral, everybody.
Just
And this is in fact
beautiful.
the day of the shooting.
Beautiful.
As you can see, they were all outdoors, and the chairs are set socially distanced so they could do a concert, right?
Yep.
And disrupted by the shooter. I don't know, Chambrielle, are you able to scan up? I'm not sure is that the full picture? Is it okay? So you can't even get the height and the full picture of what the cathedral looks like.
I mean, you literally, when they're done with this thing, you can take the Statue of Liberty, move it on in if you need to.
So, but it's
I mean,
beautiful.
it's ginormous and it's gorgeous.
It's sad that this happens around the holidays. And again, mental health, which we got the mental health moment coming up at 8:30.
Do not miss.
Is so in trouble. We are so badly in need
You're right.
of some strong mental health
Advocates
support.
and support.
And Kathy and I are going to pick another show, not today, to talk about something that
yes.
Dr. Good has passed on to us.
And we're going to
in regards
jump on
to
and
mental
run.
health.
And thank you for that research, Dr. Good. It's a challenge we're going to throw out there to the other hosts and talent in our network. And we just feel so strongly about it that we feel like everybody needs to be equipped with as much information on mental health as you can. Mental health, unfortunately, is such a scary thing. Sometimes you just don't know.
Well, and I'm going to try.
But
I'm going to
you've
get
gotta
with.
find out.
I'm going to get with Leon Chastain, one of the owners here at Venture X, and I'm going to get with a couple of the ERs that are around here,
Yep.
and see if we can't sponsor an event
that'd be great.
where we can have the sponsor pay for 15 people
Wouldn't
to
that
take
be fantastic?
this,
This course.
take this
And get
course.
certified.
Yes.
So at least, and again, you can't ever know everything, but at least if you can be more aware, and part of that awareness starts with talking about it, which is what we do here on the show every Monday at 8:30 a.m. Okay, so I said I had a couple of Santa stories, so this is interesting.
Santa up, girl.
Okay, so typo because we're heading towards
Hey,
Christmas.
Chambrielle, will you come plug in our
Santa's
lights, please? She's going to talk about
watching.
Santa. We got to have twinkle lights on.
Santa's
It's over here.
watching, and we're so happy to have
Is he?
Chambrielle back.
Where is he?
Yay!
Hey, wait a minute. Are you saying I was that bad?
No, we are just so,
Chambrielle is
this
just that
beautiful.
good.
She's just that good, exactly. My brother even called me. I was in the grocery store. Oh gosh, Saturday, and he goes, so no offense, Kath. And I go, and he goes, your production of the show the other day. And I go, Kelly, that's not what you call production. That was me hitting the go live button. JP had everything set up, and he goes, is Chambrielle going to be done with her finals? And I was like, oh, so you just want Chambrielle? He goes, well, I was like,
you
yeah,
know.
I know what that
You
means.
did good.
I know
No,
what that
ma'am,
means.
you did good. You sat down in the chair and you did it. You showed up.
Hey, I showed up and it kept
You
going.
showed up.
That's all I have to say about that.
We are going to break
That's
your
all-
technology
that's all
bubble.
that's
We're doing
all-
it. We're doing it. All right,
that's
Santa.
all we can
Let's
say.
talk Santa.
Okay, so this is crazy. So a typo leads to a New Mexico group holding gosh, this is like you got to proofread, not just spell check. Sit on Satan's lap event.
Well, by golly, there you go.
So there's that.
Hey,
so spell
is that
check.
a hot chair?
Yeah,
Our hot seat.
real hot seat. So it got mixed responses from the locals, saying, "Well, that's a different take on Christmas." But here's the thing: you can't just say I'm doing spell check, because Satan. There you go. It's a thing. It's an entity. Satan is going to come up as spelled correctly. So you've got to proofread. That's why I'm so obsessed on proofread. Everybody's like, what are you talking about? Like the other day, we were looking at something and it kept saying the taxes flag. The taxes flag. And I was like, no, it's not. And they're like, well, Kathy, it's not coming up on spell check. What's your deal? And I'm like, it needs to say Texas flag. So it's not going to spell check that. Anyways, you can take
Chambrielle, I sent you the link. If you'll put that one up. That's got to be good.
You can take the teacher out of the classroom and the classroom
I want a Texas flag. Can you give me a Texas flag?
Anyway, so can you imagine like seeing that flyer and it goes up and everybody has it on social media and somebody's like, sit on Satan's lap?
Well, and it's funny. I mean, this really can't be. I mean, did you see the graphic on this?
No, I just read the.
That wasn't a play on words.
Yeah.
No.
What do you mean?
Bring up the graphic, Chambrielle.
Well, it was done by accident.
Oh no.
Oh no, is that legit?
No, it's legit.
No, is that the one in New Mexico?
Yes. Yes. This is the New York Post. All right. It says,
surely that's not
sit
right. That's
on
horrible.
Satan's lap. New Mexico fundraiser draws ire. December 12th, 2020. Yeah, a New Mexico art collective is spurring outrage and ire for their pandemic relief fundraiser. The Albuquerque Art Group, Entertainment Art Collective, was originally supposed to be sit on Santa's lap, but due to a typo,
and they went with it.
Turned it into sit on Satan's lap.
Yeah, you're right. So they said they went with it. They said, you know what? Let's just go with it. So I'm wondering if they raised some money. Now, I would not have sat my kids down.
Sat my kids down there.
I wonder.
Can you imagine the mental health these three children are going to need?
I'm wondering though. It looks
Patty, where are you?
It looks like that's been the face has been superimposed. So I'm wondering if they really had Santa.
They rolled with it
and then put that on there, because does that look like that's really his head?
Yes.
There's no parent who would have sat 3 young children
and he's wearing a mask.
There's no parent who would have done that in a million years. You would have done it if your kids were older, just to joke around, maybe. But I don't know about that. Okay, so here's another thing. So an undercover cop posing as Santa Claus and an elf nab suspected car thieves. How great is that?
I heard that story. I read that one.
And I'm sitting here thinking, when this came across to my attention, I was like, that's like, you should be like trained in security when you're a Santa anyways, because you're going to hear and see things that nobody else has your perspective on. So I thought that was very interesting. They say a video shows the arrest in Southern California of 2 suspected car thieves by a Santa Claus and a holiday elf who happened to be undercover police officers.
Yeah.
Happened in Riverside Thursday afternoon as the undercovers were conducting an operation targeting shoplifters. Interesting. And got word that there were 3 suspicious men casing vehicles to steal. So they busted some chops, and I love it. So Santa and his elves to the rescue.
Yeah, absolutely. Michelle says, well, I guess it's better.
Is this a real picture?
Guys,
okay, Chambrielle, I'm going to send you this. There's a picture with this.
Okay. So Michelle says, well, I guess it's better than sleeping with Satan. That's true.
Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, that works. Steve Dunn says, yes, just think of all those Christmas cards Satan gets from dyslexic children in December. Forgive me, Lord. I will go to confession tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then Fred took the thought right out of my head. See, it will be a yearly thing now. That and Krampus. Laugh out loud.
Well, and it's funny that pulls up because 5 years ago was when we introduced the kids to Krampus. And so yesterday in my time hop, all these pictures of the kids with Krampus. And it's funny because we've got these family photos. The kids are all like into it and going, and I'll be all screaming and everything. And Michael's, he's sitting there kind of laughing. And I'm on the very edge of the sleigh, leaning as far out away from Krampus while still being in the family photo. And I was like, yeah, you could tell 3 people out of 4 enjoyed that family outing. You know, because at first I didn't think I was going to have to get near Krampus. And that's when Krampus told us that he said, well, what do y'all leave out for Santa? And they're like, oh, queso, reindeer mix, some carrots, some V8, and some milk. And Krampus goes, I like Cheetos and Shinerbach beer. So from that Christmas on, we also left out Shinerbach beer and Cheetos for Krampus.
So there you go.
Of course, the kids were older.
So there you go.
and then Chambrielle let me know if the picture came through.
It's right there. It was right there.
The Plano. There it is. How great is that?
Yeah, Santa looks like he's giving them the Heimlich.
Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's genius.
Oh, I do too.
Because you would never, if you're out and you're looking to steal something or you're up to no good, you're oblivious to Santa and his elves. That's not even a blip on your radar. So I think that's genius. Now, I didn't know they could even go out and hang out anywhere in California.
Sure.
So must be a part of California they can hang out in.
Remember, only I think 85% of California is shut down. And they've got them now in color-coded zones, by the way.
What?
Yeah, just to let you know. Color-coded zones.
Which zone is your family in?
They're in a purple zone, I think. So they are.
What is purple even?
They're like 50% and a curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And we have lost our stinking mind. All right, so Santa is going to be on Wednesday. I got a call from the North Pole, and he is going to have something to give away on Wednesday.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and so we'll let you know what caller you have to be when you call in, and we'll get you the number Wednesday. But it'll be while Santa is on. He's told me that he plans on coming on Wednesday at 8:45 Central Time, not North Pole time. Because at North Pole time, there is no time.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's Infinity Magic time.
It's magical.
That's right.
It's snow time. It's reindeer time.
It's snow time.
It's toy time.
I sent you another link, Chambrielle, if you'll pop that up. I know I'm throwing all kinds of fun at you before we get Patty to come in here and sit down with the mental health moment. But some of the things that Kathy and I wanted to talk about all the way leading up is also new toys that might be trending or cool tech gifts that are out there. And so what are some of the top...
JP's a kid at heart, can you tell?
Oh, goodness gracious, yes. So what are some of the top trending toys your kids are already obsessed with? And so it's
Baby
funny.
Yoda.
Well, you ready for this? Baby Yoda is right there.
You got it.
Yep. Now, Little Live Pets, Gotta Go Flamingo. Interactive. Yeah.
What is gotta go? Is that like one that goes to the bathroom?
No, I'm thinking just gotta go, like get up and go, you know?
Huh.
I don't know.
I have not seen that.
I don't know. And then also Air Hogs Super Soft Stunt Shot Indoor. Of course, indoor makes sense. And of course, that's one of those where you can probably climb the wall and all kinds of fun stuff. Like I may be buying me one of those.
I was going to say, those are kind of like back in the day. I remember my brother had the Hot Wheels kind where you could do the track up the wall.
Yeah.
And they could ride on the track up the wall. Yeah, those were pretty cool for a boy.
So,
for a boy toy.
So you ready for this?
Did I say that for a toy for boys?
Yeah, not boy toy. So the most anticipated pick for this year is Baby Yoda animatronic toy.
Absolutely. Yeah, now the plushies are darling, and I will not turn down any Baby Yoda toy, just so everybody in my circle knows. But that animatronic, that's what the kids want. The one that its ears move and its little sweet face moves.
And that's about a
little hand and levitate the ball.
Yeah, it's a mid-price point is what it is. And so it's affordable, but you want to get out there and get it if you're going to get it. The pictures seem to be gone, so I don't know what this is. I guess they're cute little collectibles called the 5 Surprise Mini Brands. And these are little cute collectibles that are also super tough to come by, but the kids are also obsessed with them. And each surprise, it's the surprise ball. It's where you break the ball up, right?
In it. It's like Marvel did that. The Walking Dead.
Oh, there we go. She got it to come up. Yeah, I remember now. So this is like the new big thing, by the way. Crack open the ball, see what you get.
Those have been out for a while. They did Marvel. They did
they have soy sauce in this one and Spam.
Oh, now this is fun. Okay, now these are just mini items. These aren't actually characters necessarily.
Well, no, they cracked open the ball.
No, that's what I'm saying, but they're not characters.
Oh, yeah, these are good,
items, yeah.
You can get some soy sauce.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Then you've got the new Laugh Out Loud or the
funny.
LOL Surprise OMG Remix
That's a great
dolls.
stocking gig.
Yeah, Patty, come on over here and have a seat with Kathy. Do we have the chair yet? Let's give her a chair. Chambrielle's going to help her out. while we're loading that up, and Chamberlain, you can put the camera on me because I need it to be on me now because.
And me.
No, Kathy already had it on her. She's been the headset.
And me.
All right, so the remix dolls, that's a big deal. The Air Hogs stunt shot, of course, we talked about that. Then the Hatchimals Pixies Crystal Flyers.
Say that 10 times
Yeah,
fast.
no kidding. So the Hatchimals are also, they're like animals that hatch out of the egg, right?
Exactly, yeah. And those have been around for a while. I guess this is a new version of them.
They'll fly around your home, even land back on your hand when you put it out. So
Wait, what?
yeah, they the little pixie, crystal pixies, they fly around, and they'll even land on your hand.
Are they alive? Are these like sea monkeys?
They're alive. They're real pixies locked in an egg.
No,
Kathy.
whatever. Well, I need a picture.
They don't have any pictures. I'm sorry.
Doggone
The
it.
pictures.
Oh, I'm always bummed out when it says perfect for ages 4 to 9 because that means
Oh,
I'm way
there they
too
are.
old.
They're adorable. I see them.
Do
You have to
see
click
them?
on the see more.
Oh.
And they're like little pixies, and they're alive. They're real pixies. They put them in crystals. They come out of the crystals. So, yeah, there's a lot of fun in that. You could have a
Do we have a
blast.
headset for Patty?
So, let's see. The Playmobil Scooby-Doo Mystery Mansion. How about that one?
Scooby-Doo has been popular
Right.
forever and a day.
Right. So, and then there's
Forever and a
there's
day.
that. Patty can have my headset if it'll reach. 'Cause
Well,
I don't
you're-
need one.
To hear the person on
No,
Zoom.
sure comes out on speaker.
Are you going to hear that?
Yep. With our new microphones and with the speaker working now,
See,
I don't need a headset.
Oh, I have to
Okay,
have
you ready?
one. No, you do not.
This
want
is gonna be
to-
fun.
No,
You
don't
ready?
throw that to me. I won't catch it
Why?
because I'm horrible at catching. I can't even catch a roll of toilet paper.
Hold on.
You can swing it. No, got it.
Goodness gracious. So, so the Playmobil Scooby-Doo Mystery Mansion, that's going to be cool. How about this one? This is going to be one of my favorites, and it's going to freak everybody out. The Treasure Alien X Glow-in-the-Dark Slime.
Oh, now see, slime rocks.
Yeah, so this
Love
is going to
slime.
be cool.
We used to make slime.
That's the
with
next
my
one up,
kids.
Chambriel. Go up one more.
Love that.
Oh, show Kathy the Pixie Crystal Flyers. Hit the show more or whatever. Or shop Amazon. Everything's on Amazon. There she is.
Oh,
She's
I
real.
know what they are. Yeah, no, those aren't. Yeah, I remember when Emily was little and they had the bigger version of those, and they were the dolls that had wings that flew up in the sky and they spun around. Yeah, that's fun for about a day.
Yeah.
Those aren't, and they were fun when we lived in a 2-story house, and you could have them fly down from the top story to the lower story. Yeah, okay. See, I was thinking something different. I'm thinking like the little sea creatures that you kind of like that you have. Were they sea monkeys or what were those?
No, they were sea monkeys. They would grow in the
yeah,
water
and
thing.
you thought they were real. I was thinking
So
something like that.
go
but-
to giftsicle.com, and it'll tell you all the new 2020 toys that are out there and what's trending for boys and girls. All right, it is time for the mental health
yes.
moment. And again,
Welcome, Patty.
yes, good morning, Patty.
Good to be here.
So, and here's the key, right? The key is mental health. First, before the pandemic was huge anyways. Wasn't getting any real attention, but was huge. And we were trying to draw attention to it.
Right.
The pandemic has put it on the center plate, and yet we still can't get the help that we need to support people that are out there. We have a friend, a mutual friend, Katerina and I do, 20 years old, committed suicide last week. Up in Seattle, Washington.
I'm so sorry, John.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's horrible. And
and we're not talking about it like we should be.
right. And
Why
we need
isn't
more
that in the news
support.
every day?
So, anyways, Patty, welcome and good morning.
Good morning. Good to
And
be back.
again, thank you for the support of the mental health moment.
Actually, I'm really excited this morning. This is a program that is going to be really great, and y'all are going to love it, I promise. We have 2 guests on this morning, Dr. Brenda Tillman and Dr. Erica Sally. Is it Sally or Sal?
Sali,
Sally, okay. I had it right.
Sali, but I'll listen to any. I'll answer to either of them.
Okay, so
We want to get it right.
one of the things that
Yeah.
is very exciting about this morning is that we have talked on our show on more than one occasion about resiliency. And what I found out with Dr. Brenda Tillman, and then she suggested that we include Dr. Sally, you can build a resiliency program ahead of time. And so rather than waiting until you have a trauma or an event hits you and trying to see if you're resilient, what we're going to talk about is what these two ladies do with the readiness group. And
Okay.
I'm going to start with
Is
you.
that the name? That's the name of the group.
The name of the group is the Readiness Group.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with Dr. Tillman and ask her to tell us a little bit about her background, what her qualifications are to talk about resiliency, and then we're going to segue into Dr. Sally and she can tell us her story, okay? So let's get started. Brenda.
Good morning. And Patty, thank you so much for organizing this. We've talked to you in the past, and we're so thrilled to get the opportunity to be on your show. The stuff you guys cover just brings everything to the surface, everything in terms of mental wellness, but also just family. I mean, it's just really connecting people, and we greatly appreciate the opportunity to do this. So a little bit about my background. My PhD is in actually counseling, and I'm a trauma therapist. I'm an EMDR solution-focused therapist. Most of my career has been working with military, police, fire, and dispatch now, and somewhat their families as well. And so it is my background is a culturally specific crisis intervention, trauma response background that has talked to people about how not only do we get ready, readiness and prepared, but how do we respond to things and then know what to do with them afterwards. So we're very excited to have the opportunity to talk to you about that today.
And just in case anybody in the audience is not familiar, say what EMDR is.
Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It is a therapeutic method that actually works with memories and the brain to be able to connect the emotional and the cognitive aspect of an event or a memory and be able to organize it in the brain so it can be put away. And I know that sounds a little bit cosmic, and that's a very basic explanation of it, but it uses bilateral stimulation to say to the brain, don't go into fight or flight, you're safe, you're in a good environment, and then helps you process those things that you've either stuffed down and have made you this plate that looks like an architectural design, or that just keep ruminating, that just keep running and won't let you get rid of them. So EMDR is a therapeutic method that tends to speed up how we address really negative memories that we've entrenched.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Sally, tell us a little bit about your background and what you're going to bring to the show this morning.
Absolutely. And I just want to thank you guys as well for allowing us this opportunity. We appreciate anything that gets out the information on resiliency and mental health. So we greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys today. I am a physical therapist here in the Metroplex. I practice mostly neurological physical therapy. My practice has been both adults and pediatrics. So I work a lot with neurological conditions, but I am also a veteran. So I was an aircraft maintenance officer in the Air Force for 6 years.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I had the opportunity to work in the military setting, and as an officer in the Air Force, I was very much responsible for the resiliency of my people. And so I have a strong passion for the community of servants, whether it's military, first responders, medical personnel. And that has really kind of brought me to where I am today, working with first responders specifically, but also with military and medical personnel on building resiliency, both individual resiliency and then also organizational resiliency, how to prepare before the critical incident comes to be able to handle a critical incident when it does come. So that's kind of the role that I bring to Readiness Group.
So one of the things that I wanted to highlight is that for the entire month of December, we are spotlighting people who serve. So that was the other thing that I thought that you all would really appreciate. So they have a background, both of these ladies, with military, and I think that they bring a lot to our game this morning. So one of the things that I was most intrigued with, Dr. Tillman, I'm going to ask you to start, and then Dr. Sally, you can finish up or add to it as it will. Talk about preparation and creating a resiliency program, as I think you like to refer to it, upstream.
Right. And we are so excited to start getting this information out, because we've been very, very good in the past at responding after the fact. And that's kind of what we've set up, especially in the warrior world, where any culture that is high threat, high stress, is kind of that warrior mentality of, look, we got a job to do, get in there and do it, and has kind of that suck it up factor in it. And so what we've done is we've just waited in the past to say, okay, let's get in there afterwards and let's make sure we give them the resources that they need, and hopefully some of it will stick, and then we'll wait until the next time. Which critical incident response teams are very, if they're good at what they do, they're very valuable to the process. But it wasn't until we really jumped into this grant that we're working with, and Erica will talk to you about this in a minute, but this, the opportunity to really see how people are responding to resiliency and wellness. And we are forming, after the fact, downstream resiliency teams to come in if we need them. But I will tell you what we're really focusing on is that upstream element, that preparation for, what does it mean to get myself ready for this? What does it mean to prepare? And statistically, it is proven that if people understand and they come at it with a clean plate, you know, that I talked about, that architectural design, if they actually can come at stress and trauma in life with a clean plate, then the stuff they can handle and go on to post-traumatic growth is absolutely huge. So that's why our focus lately has been moved more in the direction of upstream resiliency, because we've done a lot of different trainings with police, fire, numerous different groups, where when you ask them, what is the critical element of stress and what is the chronic element of stress? And what we realized was the critical element is very small compared to what we're looking at in the chronic element of stress. Chronic is everything from, you know, fatigue, from work, from finances, from kids, from COVID, from all of the things that we're talking about that add to our chronic levels of stress. And again, I keep going back, this plate is kind of that prefrontal cortex that we have in the brain, where the brain says, what do I do with all this? All of those chronic things just build this plate. And then what you do is you put that little critical element on top of that. And that's when life, we often refer to it as that's when the crisis mode hits. That's when things just don't seem normal anymore. So if we can get to the upstream portion, if we can get to, we do a lot with peer support, to every person a peer, not just wait for a peer team to come in, but know what you need yourself. Know what builds your resiliency. Know what makes you stronger in challenge, but also know what makes you stronger in hope and happiness. And that's what we're looking to build in the programs we work with.
Erica, what kind of an organization over and above the obvious first responders are a good candidate for you? You go into a variety of organizations, do you not?
We do. You know, honestly, any organization, I think we can all agree right now that resiliency and mental health practices apply to everyone right now, especially with everything that's going on in the world. We tend to focus on organizations that inherently face high stress and trauma in what they do. So it tends to be military, first responder, medical, and honestly, educational. I don't think we often recognize the level of stress and trauma that educators experience, but it is pretty high. And you can imagine even higher right now with COVID the way that it is. So that tends to be who we kind of focus on. But I also want to go back to what Brenda was saying. It's really important too to realize there have been a lot of studies done in the military about resiliency, and they can actually almost predict within a certain percentage the incidence of PTSD, the risk of developing PTSD following a deployment situation, based on the resiliency measures of mental and physical health going into that deployment. And they know that individuals who have have low markers of mental and physical health prior to the deployment are at a much higher risk of developing PTSD on the other side of the deployment. And so when we talk about upstream resiliency, it's not this like doomsday prepper, we're going to go build, collect all our resources and be ready for anything that comes. It's really a measure of being able to be mentally and physically well prior to a very severe and traumatic event. And the measure of that is really how much are you able to enjoy your life? You know, how present are you in your life? Are you where your feet are? And can you enjoy the things, the way that you're living and the relationships that you have in your life? that's a true measure of resiliency, that if you are able to do that, then if life does hit you in the face, which it's going to all of us, none of us are getting out unscathed. What's going to be your capacity to be able to kind of work through that and grow from it on the other side with post-traumatic growth versus developing some kind of post-traumatic stress or stress disorder?
You mentioned something about how resilient they were, or what their markers were prior to the event. Talk a minute about what all the organizations that you work with do ahead of time so that they are familiar with how resilient their teams are.
I think this is something that is really growing in the first responder community specifically right now, because like Brenda said, the focus has always been on the response phase, right? And it's shifting now because people are starting to realize, in first responder, both law enforcement and fire, suicides are outnumbering line of duty deaths every year. And so the question is, tactically, if we can get our tactics to where we can get our line of duty death rates as low as we've gotten them, why can't we build the resiliency of our people high enough that we can get those rates down as well? And I think the answer comes in that we've been way too reactive and not proactive enough. And so I think that is where the conversation is shifting in the first responder world. And it is too, how do we build resiliency prior to? And a lot of that is coming through peer support, where we teach all of the first responders how to have an effective communication that helps their brain to process through some of the stuff they see on a daily basis. Because if you ask a first responder, they'll tell you, oh, that's not a big deal, that's just my job. A lot of times they don't even recognize how much a pediatric CPR is affecting them when it starts to stack up with all of the other things they see on a regular basis. So they need a daily process instead of kind of this binge purge, take in all this stress and then do whatever I need to do to get rid of it at the end of the day or the end of the week. They've got to have a process using peer support and using healthy strategies like gratitude and service and mindfulness and health and, physical resiliency strategies to process through those things on an immediate basis rather than waiting until it gets to a point where they are burnt out and have no capacity to deal with it anymore.
Patty, if I could throw something in here too. I think JP mentioned that, we're just not getting the help out there that we need. And I'll tell you what we are finding is there's got to be trust in programs. And of course, there's stigma that goes along with using a counselor or reaching out or all the other things associated. This is why the upstream process is so very important, because when you educate, and we've got this wonderful grant in Texas for first responders for 9 cities. When you educate people on why they're doing the things that they're doing upstream, it's amazing how willing they become to do them. And let me give you an example of that. After the Dallas shooting, the situation with the police officers, there was great money thrown at counseling that a lot of organizations said we had nobody even ask. We had nobody come in and ask for those. It was free counseling to any police officer, to any, and the trust factor hadn't been breached there. I mean, the issue is that we have to get in there and educate people on why it's important to do what we do. We talk about peer support and every person being a peer, not just the peer team, every person's a peer. So that if you don't want to reach out to somebody at the station or at the organization, you make sure you identify who your person is. And that could be your spouse, it could be your brother, it could be your sister, someone outside, or it could be a therapist if that's more comfortable to you because it's much more private. So we've got to educate. Once we educate, we started this grant a year ago. And once we started the education, people started saying, oh, now I see why we're doing it, the whole purpose of this. And so I'm going to sign up for that. That's how we break the stigma. We need the education associated with what's going on in the brain at the time that you're working this stuff off. What do we need to do? And then what we'll get is people saying, okay, if that's what we need to do to get rid of this stuff, then I'm willing to do that. I don't want to carry this stuff for the rest of my life.
So if I'm an enlightened CEO or an executive director of an organization, and I'm listening to you this morning and it's starting to resonate for me, talk to me about the steps that we would go through. I make the phone call, tell me your 800 number or your website address, and then tell me what's going to happen.
What we typically do is we go through, and this is something we've really built alongside these first responders. They have been just imperative in figuring out what the process should be and what works and what resonates with people. But what we like to do is look at an organization, we call it the Organizational Resiliency Quotient, or the ORQ, and we look at measuring the well-being of the individuals within the organization, and then looking at what the organization already has in place. Because what we've realized is a lot of times there's a lot of stuff in place. It's just not all tied together into a program that people recognize as a resiliency program and trust, right? So we look at the ORQ, we look at what resources they have, where their people are on their well-being, and then have a conversation, a vision meeting where we talk about, what do you want your program to be for your people? Here's what you have, here's what you want your program to be. And then we look at, okay, so what holes need to be filled, right? So we take those gaps that aren't filled with whatever resources need to be put in place. And then we put those, we figure out what those need to be to make your culture successful, because it has to be very culturally specific. It can't be a pre-programmed thing that you bring in and put on people. And then we have a resiliency team. We have the organization build a resiliency team that kind of helps put the roadmap together to get all of this in place. A part of that roadmap is education, a very important part. And the way we've done it with our first responders is to educate them, every one of them, a very quick education in the science of trauma, the science of resiliency, what's going on in the brain, and what are some of the effective strategies that you can use to counter some of those effects of trauma, so that they can work through that stuff, and then by trust in it. And then another very important piece is culturally specific counseling. And that really is some of the harder resources to put in place, because it costs money, And so whether that takes educating and maybe an employee assistance program in that specific culture, or if the agency can fund free counseling for their members to educate a counseling agency to be a part of that, in order to, one, educate, two, provide resources, and three, when everything they can do at the organization is not enough, to then provide a referral source for therapy as well, so that that's out there and available.
So this is a lot like risk management. Where would that particular kind of a program reside in an organization? Is it usually in human resources, or is it under the risk management umbrella? Or where would we find that inspiration to reach out to the readiness group?
It could certainly be under both of those, and probably more so. What you'll find in organizations is that more organizations do their wellness programs through human resources. But I tell you, when you look at your people being your greatest asset, that's risk management. What are we willing to do, and so a lot of people in the past have looked at the response part as the extent to what they're doing, not realizing that the upstream is what contributes to wellness in terms of attrition, in terms of people being at work, in terms of the culture of the organization being something where people want to be and support each other. It's a groundswell effect. I'm telling you, Patty, it is amazing to watch an organization that has a really, really good groundswell wellness understanding of what happens when you're in very high stress situations. And I tell you, in today's environment with COVID and everything else that's going on, this is to understand these things for an organization is absolutely huge. But we are, Erica mentioned some of the other organizations we're working with. I mean, we've got FAA that we work with accident investigators. We do all of their, so it expands out into all areas. But even, contractors for, defense any organization could use that upstream element of understand why we do this, know why we do this. Let's build that groundswell effect of wellness within the organization. And then you decide what fits you best before anything big happens. And, to be honest with you, most of what we hear when we do these programs are, why didn't we have this years ago? Why didn't we get this when we came into this? And they're absolutely right. Erica talked about education. Our juniors and seniors, our freshmen and eighth graders need to know what resiliency is and how do we build it within ourselves now, so that when we go through a pandemic, so that when we go through what we're going through now, the changes that have had to take place in schools right now, kids are truly suffering. And if you look at Cook's Children's reaching out to communities, asking people, we're seeing suicide ideation as early as 4 years old and 5 years old. We're not doing something right in terms of building an understanding. Now, for a child that young, obviously the parental support is what's so important in that. But we need to give this information. We need people to know that you have the opportunity to fix you individually. I have the opportunity to build my resiliency so that when I do go, and I know I will through something very tough, I've got the opportunity to say, okay, this is what I need to activate. And if that's not enough, I'm reaching out to counseling, because that's a resource I have.
So doctors, I've always wanted to say that. Doctors.
I love that. Doctors.
So doctors.
So plural.
Yes.
We need to take a quick break and identify our sponsor today that has made the mental health moment possible, really from almost its inception.
Pretty much.
Being there for us to make sure that the message of mental health and the support that is needed for mental health and the information gets out to the general public. So we want to thank Acadia Healthcare for all that they have done for the mental health moment, to make sure that we have an amazing platform to be able to get out information needed so badly, not even before the pandemic, but now especially during the pandemic. You can contact Chris Getz, your own personal concierge. She is also a licensed an LPC. Jeez,
Yes.
Get that out of your mouth, John Payton. Goodness gracious. She is an LPC standing by. You can call her at 469-400-7499. And again, acadiahealthcare.com. Feel free to reach out to them. They are the largest healthcare outfit in the world. They have facilities all over the world and doctors standing by. So again, give Chris Getz a call. The conversation is private.
Yes.
It stays between you and your licensed practicing counselor. Yes. So please reach out to Chris Getz. Again, 469-400-7499.
Don't stay in pain. Reach out and get help. Please reach out and get help.
Okay. Another question I wanted to ask you ladies. In risk management, some of the things that you do is figure out what it is that you don't even know that's out there. Like, you can manage the known risk. How do you identify what you don't know? How do you know what you don't know?
So I'll start with that, and then I'll let Erica pick up on that. There are markers, there are triggers, there are things we begin to recognize that, and we talk about this a lot in the training that we do. If you're seeing these things creep up, and we've got a list of those, and a lot of them, when you look at what's happening with COVID right now, a lot of them go right along with that. Isolation is one, just that anger startle response exaggerated, that feeling of just nothing's quite right, the loss of homeostasis, that normalcy in life. When you start looking at those things ticking up, and you know what, Patty, we all have our ups and downs in life. I mean, it's not like it's going to be this line is going to go up and stay there and come down and stay there. We're going to go through, those ups and downs. But if what you see is the, 2 steps forward, getting more and more agitated, more and more frustrated, that startle response a little bit better, a little bit harder, showing more anger, and it's not coming back down enough, then is when we begin to look at, okay, what are the risks associated with me not doing anything, right? And if you think about that, the risks associated with you not doing anything are the continued elevation of that. And
Right.
I'll let Erica talk to a little bit about that gap between your chronic and your critical stress. That's what we're looking for joy. Erica, go ahead and.
Yeah, I think, just to kind of add on to that, one of the biggest things that we look at is just function, right? And this is a big word in the physical therapy world, especially the neurological, is you can overanalyze the symptoms and the different measurements to death and think you've got something really serious going on. But the real question is, how is it impacting your life functionally, right? So we have first responders that say all the time, I think I do okay with this stuff, but I'm kind of scared it's going to sneak up on me, that maybe I'm not processing through it as well as I can. And that really is the question, is functionally, where are you at in life? Can you enjoy it? Are your relationships good? Can you find happiness? If you're finding all those things, then you're doing something well to manage the stress in your life or the trauma in your life, right? The way we kind of talk about it is we look at it, and we've got a video for this on our website that explains it pretty well, but we look at a graph of, You got your chronic stress, your baseline stress that you're dealing with every day. You want to keep that as low as you can through good daily habits. And then on the top, you've got an ability to deal with the critical stress, right? And you want that ability to be as high as you possibly can through knowledge of how to process through trauma and what your supporting elements are to be able to process through trauma. If you keep your chronic stress low and your critical stress high, then you've got a ton of room in the middle for everything that matters in life. And that's what we call it, the readiness buffer, but really it's your why, right? And so we talk about the importance of education for resiliency. A big portion of that education needs to be, what is your purpose and passion in life, right? You need to know what that is, because that's what buffers you against the stuff that life throws at you. That's the reason why you should even try to build resiliency in the first place. You need to know what that is. We have this conversation with every one of our classes of first responders, and we go through and we have every one of them talk about what their why is in life. What's your not why are you a first responder? What is your individual passion and purpose in life? Because that's the thing that when life gets hard and things get dark and you can't find joy any way you turn, that is the thing that's going to pull you out, right? That is the thing that's going to go, okay, I'm going to take this next step forward because I want to get to where I can do this for myself in life. This is what I want out of life. And so it's so danged imperative that you know what that is in order to be able to want to build resiliency in the first place.
So Patty, as we talk, and I'll just kind of wrap that up with this, as we talk to individuals, we always start with, nobody's going to experience the same situation the same way, right? If it's not a problem, don't make it one. If you've got a great process in place, keep doing it and share it with somebody else, because that could help them as well. We are a peer-driven organization. Our peers walk in the same shoes of those organizations that we work with, whether they're aviation peers or police peers or fire peers or education peers. These are the people who get it. If you've walked in the shoes, we can bring an understanding of the whole resiliency concept to it. But if you've not been a cop and had a cop explain something horrific to you, then the trust factor is not as strong as it can be. So that peer support process is absolutely what we push. And it's purposeful peering. It's not what we used to do of how you doing. It's really helping people organize this so that it can be put away. So we're using it in terms of a verb, peer it. We're asking all leadership to ask, have you peered that? Are you peering it? Go peer it, whatever it is. But get it to a point where when you've experienced something, get it off that plate as quickly as possible, right? Through peer support. And if that's not enough, then reach out. If it's not a problem, don't make it one. And it's not going to be for everyone, right? But for those who don't have something in place, the opportunity to work that off that plate and to get your process down, to say, I know exactly. As a clinician, one of the first things I ask an individual who comes into my office is, what did you do with that? I mean, Erica talked about a CPR, anything associated with major, concept of, oh, that is the saddest thing. My question is always, what did you do with it? And the question I always receive back is, what are you talking about? What do they do with it? So it's all that element of I don't know, where do we go from here? I don't even know what you're talking about. So
yeah, that's really good. As I said to you when I was first speaking with you on the phone the other day, this is Brenda, I think that we could have you ladies back.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
For a 10-part series.
Well,
so
EMDR is
so
I'd like to dive more into that later.
Yeah.
EMDR. Yeah. So many people need that kind of therapy, and it's intense, very intense. I know several friends who have gone through it, and so absolutely.
Well, you hear a lot about it now, but I think for people that are not professionals, they do want to learn more. And I was just enthralled with both of you ladies, and I'm very happy that you could make the time to join us this morning. The Mental Health Moment really appreciates your wisdom, your knowledge, and your presence. So thank you for joining us.
And I would like to say, from my home, because this is what we believe, Merry Christmas to you.
We don't believe it. Merry
no,
Christmas.
that's some people don't. Some people are Jewish and they believe in Hanukkah and they can wish me happy Hanukkah.
No, but you can include me in on that.
Well, I'm talking to them. I'm not talking to you.
No, but we're
Drink your soda. I'm not talking to you.
We're both wishing y'all Merry
Well, no, you
Christmas.
can jump in and do it yourself. You're a grown up.
There you go.
Oh my!
We
Lord.
need
Merry
our own
Christmas.
counseling.
I need EMDR. I need EMDR counseling right now on the air. Where's my headset? I need.
We
Okay,
appreciate
good Monday
y'all.
morning to everybody. How about that?
Good stress.
And then I just
this
start
is the fun
singing.
stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a manic Monday.
Oh boy, and it always is.
Yeah.
Or Murphy's Law Monday.
Murphy's Law Monday. I love that
It's been
one.
Murphy's Law Monday.
So you see what I'm saying? I should be offered free counseling by one of the both of you with what I've got to put up with
Oh,
over
we'll
here.
figure
yeah,
that
can y'all stay on the line after the show?
Yeah.
Thank y'all
Okay.
so much.
Thank
God
you.
bless y'all for what y'all are doing.
Yes.
Thank you
That's
guys.
wonderful.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right. We again want to thank Acadia Healthcare for all that they have done to be able to put the mental health moment on the map, and they continue to do so. Contact Chris Getz, your own personal licensed professional counselor at Acadia Healthcare, or you can go to acadiahealthcare.com. But you can contact Chris at 469-400-7499. That's 469-400-7499. Again, as Kathy says, and I'm going to let her say it, don't
What?
allow mental health to take you over or something like that.
Oh, yeah. If you're in trouble, I'm like, yeah, what do I say? I say a lot of
This is
things.
your
You
favorite
have to be a little
line.
more
When I
specific.
say all that, you then say,
Well, seriously, do not be afraid to reach out. Even if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to Chris, reach out to myself or JP. We've got the resources for you. There is no need for you to stay and have any kind of trouble. Also wanted to mention, we didn't get a chance to get to it today, but we will on Wednesday, and that's a tribute to Charlie Pride.
Absolutely.
Who we just
and you
adore.
know, I may,
we lost.
and I may reach out to Mary. I talked to
Mary
Mary
and
last
Randy,
night,
yeah.
Mary and Randy last
Yep.
night, and
Travis, yeah. Just may he rest in peace, and all of his fans and family and friends who are hurting today. We'll be giving a really nice tribute to him on
and
Wednesday.
then I got confirmation
Santa
is going to do a Zoom call with us
Yes.
at 8:45. He's going to be here Wednesday at 8:45 through Zoom.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Santa.
And he said he's got a little something to give away
Uh-oh.
to a lucky listener out there. Have you been naughty or have you been nice? Find out Wednesday.
Well, I know our
at
listeners are going to
8:45.
need to be on the nice side for the next 48 hours.
All right. Again, we want to thank Acadia
love
Healthcare for all you
y'all.
do. We want to thank our two guests
Yeah,
for
thank
coming
y'all
on this
so much,
morning.
ladies.
Amazing information as always. And Patty and Steve, thank you so much for the
guys
Something for
rock.
Kelly Foundation and the Morgan Foundation.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. We're out.
Okay.
See y'all Wednesday. Stay tuned.
See ya.
10 o'clock for Heart and Soul of Texas Women.
There you go.